Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I say welcome to my channel because of the recent COPPA foobar process that's going on, hence the disclaimer at the beginning of the video, and also that this is the only video that you can see on my channel, since I had to privatize all my 300 and something videos out of pure fear of getting banned or worse, fined. Also, I am no artist, I suck at drawing and I'm using my profile picture as a placeholder. I mean, look at this. My friend Editas drew this and goddamn is it marvelous. He has come a long way in drawing. The best that I can do is this. Grade A under A is Picasso compared to me. So all the best I could do was use one of my own profile pictures and occasionally draw him some MS Paint eyes on top. I mean, look at this. A 6-year-old could do better. Moving on, this video is also the only available video on my channel because I have done a reaction to the whole movie, a commentary that's being stuck in copyright limbo for a Mexican family scare scene. I'm not kidding, I bet that if I had the patience to do it, I would recreate the scene's audio and you will not be able to tell them apart. Yet it's copyright claimed and the whole video is unavailable for a month. I repeat, there is an audio claim on my commentary while watching the whole movie of a Mexican family being scared by a ghost. There is no video, the movie's poster is in it and the audio is also barely audible. So that is what it's like being a YouTuber in 2019. Just a small taste anyway. If you haven't guessed it by this point and the title and the thumbnail, in which case I do not know how you function, this is my subjective review of a ghost story directed by David Lowery, who also brought you the following. But this review is mixed in with a gripe of mine. You see, many reviewers go to watch the critics score and audience score and reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, but I went directly to IMDb. Never once opened the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and probably never will, and the reviews on there look like they're written by a hospital of ADHD patients. I mean, here's some of these out that are marked 1 out of 10. Don't do this to yourself. Really, it's the worst film ever. Or how about this one that's titled Justification for IMDb to introduce ratings less than 0. And there you have it. Oh, and who wants to see the woman eating a full apple pie in real time? Or watch the husband in the morgue under a sheet for 5 minutes? I mean, I actually had to check to see if I had my computer on pause. So my advice, stay away. Stay very away from this film. You'll thank me. Honest. Or this superhero of a man/woman/entity. There is nothing good about this movie. I mean it, not a thing. It is hard to say what is more painful, watching it or knowing I cannot get that time back. Oh gee, IMDb 03275. So sorry, this movie has wasted your time from curing cancer, raising the dead, and donating billions of dollars for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. If you didn't watch the movie, you would have done all of that and we would pucker our lips to kiss our savior. Hold on, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself with this one. Let's see what movies our would-be savior commented on to get a sense of where he's coming from. Ah, I see here several reviews. Let's see. The Snowman with a 4 out of 10 from him. Bond Cop Bad Cop 2 with a 1 out of 10. Sunshine and the Northlander with a 1 out of 10 with almost the exact headline, Awful Tripe. Do you mean the first or second stomach of a cow? Ah, here's a positive review, a 9 out of 10 for Paris Can Wait. A very enjoyable movie, especially if you like France. Okay. It begins with, anyone who has traveled within France will enjoy this movie just for the scenery and reminders of cuisine. Well then that says everything now, doesn't it? In the context of a ghost story, you are not expressing an objective review of the movie, hence why I needed to take a look at your IMDb previous ratings and comments, but a subjective one as well. And you are mad about it because it wasted your time, yet you can give another movie a 9 out of 10 just for the scenery? Isn't that brilliant? Have we expressed our standards yet? Lord, if I can find gems like this in IMDb, I shudder to think what reviews are on Warby Tomatoes. It seems today that people are all about the explosions, superhero movies, and space wizards. The most reviewed movies with the loudest fanbase come from Marvel and Disney's Star Wars. The most awful arguments come from these, the more defenders, and God forbid if it's a movie that puts a protagonist as a blank slate for you to project your own thoughts and emotions onto him during the course of 90% of the movie, this movie is boring! I will give some of these reviews some credit. There's a scene in the movie with the wife of the main protagonist eating a pie for 4 minutes. Unedited, with nothing happening, or so they claim. To what I say, have you ever lost someone or been through a breakup? It's clear from the beginning 5 minutes of the movie that this is a very slow-paced movie designed to move you, to make you think, to experience it. It's not shooty, explosion-y stuff that make it bad. Therein lies a debate over subjective versus objective criticisms in movie making. And don't fool yourself, most of these reviews are written through a subjective lens. Everyone is mad that they wasted their time with this movie when they could have watched The Last Jedi for the 10th time in the wake of The Rise of Skywalker. Or Paris can wait for the 20th time because Diane Lane is a delight and also very authentic. So don't waste my time with this ghost nonsense. And we need an arbiter, someone who has intensive film knowledge and knows what makes a good movie, from cinematography to script to plot to characters. Whereas I am no expert film critic, once again this is my subjective opinion on the movie, so I cannot pronounce myself definitely if it's a good movie from an objective standpoint. This movie doesn't have a lot of dialogue, it doesn't have what we could call character arcs, and is definitely not a traditional story. The main protagonist could be argued goes through an experience, and we as the viewer can project onto him our own thoughts. The point that he is wearing a bedsheet to show that he is a ghost was not done just for the lack of budget. I consider the move very quaint, but I also see it as a pretentious move by the director to express, look, he's white, he's blank. Anyone can be that ghost. What you experience versus another person who has seen the movie is personal and different to everyone. And I would agree that seems to be the case. Besides that, in the context of the plot, what can a ghost do other than stand around and look at his wife mourning him? Or be angry for moving on for what seems to him to be too quickly? Some argued that this is more like a horror movie, being trapped like that, not being able to interact with the person you love the most and witnessing these events. And yes, that argument is on point with what ideas are being circled around about what comes next after death. Death is the universal unifier, and we don't like to think of it too often. We put it in the back of our heads, we meet the next deadline, we save another life, we consume and sometimes produce entertainment, all of these to occupy our time, and you cannot tell me that that is not the case, because I've had a lot of free time before where I didn't do anything, not consume, not produce, just stood on the kitchen floor eating a cookie for 4 minutes, and even when I finished the cookie, all I could think about was what happens after I die. And it was a horrible experience that I do not wish to repeat to myself. Being busy, getting that degree, going to work, working on project after project after project, you put off that thought because even though you know you won't get any answers until you actually die, you'd still think about it. If anything, this movie is the theory about what goes on after death and what happens if you choose to not move forward, to be stuck in a purgatory state watching your loved ones and being tied to the one thing or place that you love the most. The pie eating scene is the most referenced gripe I can think of about this movie. My main gripe is another. The intense snuggly wuggly scene. We get it, you two love each other very much. Now can we stop seeing an Eskimo kiss scene while trying to fall asleep? God! If anything, the pie-eating scene, followed closely by a change of sheets that is delayed, shows us what we've all gone through at one point or another. Losing a loved one to death, our wife, our husband, our significant other, then trying to move on when those bed sheets are the last thing that carries their smell. I thought this to be brilliantly put there, I instantly recognized it. Or losing a family member to death via many wonderful and awful ways to die in this world. You just mourn. You're just demolished morally, and eating a pie, overstuffing your face with something, fills a little bit of that hole within us, but it's not even healthy. Half a pie when you're not hungry in 4 minutes and you go to be a bulimic is not healthy in any country. Or maybe I'm looking into it too much. But this is the kind of movie where you project, where you draw your own conclusions, you formulate your own ideas. What I really enjoyed about this movie was the soundtrack as well. Dark Rooms... I get overwhelmed by Dark Rooms. Instantly hit home when I first heard it, and it is now in my favorites playlist. I was ecstatic to find it on YouTube, and I pray it won't get taken down until I can sort myself to buy the soundtrack. The one parallel I mentioned in my audio commentary track is that it resembles a Futurama episode, and I mentioned this in my IMDb review as well. I've drawn my own theory of this from Futurama, and it is lovely to see it referenced in a movie form. Now, I won't state that idea here in this video, but if you watched both Futurama and The Ghost Story, you know what I'm talking about. Or hell, if you looked up my IMDb review, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. In summary, it is a very lovely movie. It didn't seem that long to me or boring. My advice is this: if you're going to watch it with a friend. This movie can be talked over during some lengthy scenes, but that is not towards its detriment. If you are a good multitasker, you can keep a conversation open with a friend during the really slow-paced scenes, where there are only exposition shots, which could be argued this movie has just exposition shots, and those scenes will go by faster. All of this does not mean it makes it a bad movie, because I was gripped through and through, and the movie left me with a bittersweet taste. Furthermore, it's nice to see a movie that breaks away from a more traditional storytelling branch and tries something more, let's say, experimental, with no intention of telling a story, but more of living an experience. So in summary, I highly recommend this movie, but just be warned, it is a very slow-paced movie. Post-edit Doomvlad here. I've been wasting away for about 4 or 5 hours. I don't know why it took me this long to edit this video, but how did you like it? Let me know in the comments down below. And this is a new thing that I'm trying, and the next video, if there will be a next video, I can't make any promises, but if I'll do other future movie reviews or video game reviews, I'm going to try it in this style, add a little bit more to it. So any feedback and any help is greatly appreciated. And if you watched A Ghost Story, what was your opinion of the movie? Even if you think it was bad, I'd still like to know. Leave a comment down below, and I'll hear you in the next one. And now, coming up, there are some audio outtakes from me, where there are only exposition shots. Where there are only exposition shots. You can keep... Where there are only exposition... I was gripped through and through, and the movie left me with a bittersweet ending. But I walked after it, and I felt fine.